and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Centre. I'm delighted to be joined with Grace, who's come all the way from Sydney, Australia, with her fantastic film, Girl Coded. Let's take a look at the clip.
I think we can never underestimate the power of language. You are who you are, son.
миний хайг бас шүлжээд үү?
Өөрөөс ичгүй.
Why didn't you back me up with the bag? Just because you don't have the balls to say that.
That's enough! I know you wanted to talk about handing over the farm and getting those fences up, but my life is in Sydney now, Dad.
Well done. Keep going.
For me, every day, I bathe in my chocolate, creamy indulgence.
Beautiful sunshine.
I know a thing or two.
Welcome to New Filmmakers LA. Welcome to our family, and thank you so much for coming from the other side of the world to be here. But thank you for your film, and really special to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolutely incredible, life-changing experience. I'm so grateful for being here.
Oh my goodness, I'm getting chills. That's beautiful. Thank you. No, we're so glad, and thank you for bringing your fantastic film to us. For those that haven't seen it, Grace, tell us a brief synopsis.
So this film, the seed of it comes from this trend that happened back in the 2010s, where a lot of like all-girls high schools, or high schools generally, would create secrets pages or anonymous confession pages, love letter pages on Facebook, where people would anonymously submit their secrets, love letters, and they would all be posted, and you'd try and work out who was posting the things. So it was this really huge micro trend for a minute there. And so Girl Coded is about two girls at a private Anglican all-girls school who have one of these pages for their school, and they are trying to work out all of the identities behind the page in order to blackmail their way up the high school food chain. But one of the big mysteries is who was the person who created this page.
And you have to watch it to find out in case you haven't seen it, okay? But it's such a really, I'm glad you brought this up, because I remember when this took place, and it was kind of quite scary, actually. Like, it was good, but it was almost like, oh my God, someone's revealing their kind of secrets. Now you've got this obviously centered around some fantastic actors. Tell us about how you brought your cast and your characters together.
So we spent quite a lot of time in the room figuring out these characters first and just getting a good grip of them. And I was really lucky that the two protagonists we have in the story, Ruth and Robbie, I actually had friends who had a lot of acting experience who I was able to bring onto the project quite easily. I'd known them through previous things. So they were Kath Ebbs, who is an actor on Neighbours in Australia, among other things.
Neighbours,
yeah.
the greatest TV series in the world.
Yeah, and Chloe Hayden, who plays Quinny in Heartbreak High.
Oh, Heartbreak High.
Yeah, and luckily they were both, I mean, it's short filmmaking, it's not the biggest thing in the world, it's not the great feature film, but they love the project and they were happy to come on board and be there with all the students that we had in the film and go through this process together. So I was really lucky to just be able to tap them on the shoulder and go, hey, would you mind helping out?
That's amazing, that's amazing. And like, for you as a director, like what's your kind of like process in like working with your actors? Like, how do you work with them?
I mean, it always comes from character formation and trying to understand the motives. It's, a very simple directing answer, but it's as long as you understand the world in which you're sitting and you understand the character that you are playing, everything kind of comes from that. So I think even if there are other aspects, like, a lot of directors might focus on the location, might focus on the sound. I'm definitely more actor focused and getting those performances out. And then tying that in with the full creative journey of the piece, but it all stems from the story at its core.
Yeah, and listen, there's a lot. I mean, you really coded the film well, like in the sense, and I'm like, I'm just curious, like from a technical almost standpoint, like how did you kind of work, like creating all the kind of technicalities of it all? Because I mean, you really had all these codes, and I was like, how is this working? Like, what was your secrets there? How do you do that?
I think that a lot of the tech side of things is probably deeply incorrect when it comes to how to actually code things.
It was great. Yeah.
My point of reference was just other TV shows where people have coded things on screen. You know, they start tapping away, and you get all these numbers around them, and it's like, oh, exciting.
Yeah.
I do, at the time, I had a housemate who works in coding and software engineering, so I was
that helpful, you see.
tapping them on the shoulder and going, hello, can you please explain, is this something that would even happen? And the answer was almost always absolutely not, and I would say, I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, so you're an experienced writer and producer, and I'm just curious in the process of like your writing process, like how was that experience with this? Like, what was your process there? What was it? Was it all kind of clear in the first draft? Like how was that experience like for you?
So this film has a kind of interesting origin story in that it is produced by a company called Bus Stop Films in Australia, who kind of our lead accessibility filmmaking organization. And one of their major things that they do is every year they run a 9-month-long like film training program for adults with intellectual disabilities. So I am a tutor, or I was there for 2 years in that program. And each year we take the students through kind of learning how to make a short film. So every single stage, term 1 is kind of development, term 2 pre-production, term 3 production, term 4 post-production. And this short film was the short film that those students made. So our writing process was really interesting because I had a class of 15 students who were all putting into the story. And I was kind of there to be more of a conduit and shaping what I was hearing that they wanted to create, the emotion behind it, into a story that could then be transferred for the screen.
Yeah.
And what we were talking about along the room was around feelings of disempowerment with the students, the kind of narratives that people with disabilities tend to get placed into.
Yeah.
And a lot of the students had made films about people with disabilities in the past, and they weren't necessarily interested in telling a disability-focused story again, but they were interested in exploring those emotions further. So that's kind of where this concept of looking at teenage girls came from, because a lot of the things that my students had gone through, these narratives they were being stuck to, this feeling of disempowerment, I think a lot of teenage girls can relate to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this idea formation came from, was, you know, girls who feel disempowered but want to get their power back. And that's where everything stemmed from.
Oh my goodness, what an amazing process in writing this film. It must have been very rewarding working with all those amazing young people. What was so refreshing with this film is that this was obviously centered around 2 teenage girls, through empowerment, and that's amazing, but also just around discovering who they are as people, that their sexuality, their interests, their identity, all those things. I mean, how it was so nice to see that, particularly from that age group, and almost just you kind of played out in your writing like it was the norm, as we should, as in the queer community, see this more. How did you kind of want to, knowing how you wanted to write that and approach that, like, how important it is to kind of showcase from particularly that age group as well, and making that feel like empowered, being part of this LGBT+ community in this program as well.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of stories of coming age people finding themselves and finding out their sexuality through acts of violence or through slurs, and that's a very common narrative on our screen, and it's absolutely very important to acknowledge that history and acknowledge those stories that happen. But as a writer, I definitely prefer to stay in things that feel lighthearted and feel warm to watch. I don't personally go towards media of queer people that makes my heart break, because there's so many of us have gone through that already. I don't feel like I need more of it in my life personally. So when I was approaching this project, I wanted to kind of have this acknowledgement of what's happening in the world, which we see when the secrets get posted on the screen and they're saying things like, that's why she's not allowed in the locker room with us, or that's, all these little snipes. But I also wanted these characters to exist in this safe space together where being queer was allowed, and it wasn't something that was hurting them when they were together. This IT room that they were in was their safe place. So that's what I really wanted to focus on. And finding that balance between acknowledging it and still having the short film be joyous.
Yeah, and you really captured that. As a producer, there's a lot of work that goes into making a film. What was the biggest challenge you faced?
So I actually didn't produce this one. I wrote and directed this one.
Oh, you wrote and directed this
yeah,
one?
Yeah, but I work as a producer in my day job more so.
Oh, so in your day job, so what's your day job involved in producing?
So I am a development producer. I work for a company called Storyglass, who we work out of Fremantle, Australia. Wow. And so my job is kind of coming up with ideas for podcasts, attaching talent, looking at financing, developing up the ideas further, and then sometimes carrying them through to production as well.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for about 3 years now.
That's amazing. Oh my God, you're so multi-talented. Like, my goodness, so many hats. It's amazing. Listen, I mean, I just want to let you know we're so grateful that you came all the way here, but what's this experience been like? You know, it's a long way to come for a film festival. You come all the way here, come into New Filmmakers, part of this, you know, special program that is centered around LGBTQ+ storytelling. How has the experience been?
So the panels and the meetings and the networking sessions that NFMLA offers have been so formative in working through what my next career steps are, and really getting a foot in the LA industry and understanding how the US industry works. There's been so many benefits. There's been meeting the other filmmakers like me who I hope will be potential future collaborators because they are also incredibly talented and lovely people as well. And it's a hard combination to find lovely people and really talented people. And then there's also, you know, the people that I've met who work at companies like NBC Universal and Searchlight who are just so full of knowledge, and to be able to actually go and pick their brain for a little bit of time and hear the industry from their perspective and hear how they approach works will absolutely inform how I'm going to approach my works in the future. And then there's also having a film play and getting to go to these networking events and see the film out there, and just you meet such a wide range of people at this festival, whether it's artists, producers, teachers. You get a full sense of the industry, and it's just such a wonderful landing pad for someone who's coming to LA for the first time. So I'm really grateful.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. I mean, it was beautiful, and we're so honestly that the experience is everything, and I'm so glad that you're part of, you know, our family now. But we need to keep you making more movies, and we need more movies from you. What is next for you, Grace?
So I'm really hoping to take Girl Coded further. Yes. I really want to make it into a television series is the current thought. So that's kind of my next step. It's a musical in its short film, and I hope it's going to be a musical in its television series as well. So that's going to take a little bit of time because musicals take absolutely ages to make and write. But that's going to be my main project for the future.
Amazing. Girl Coded, the TV series. Please, everyone help us. Give us lots of money to make the TV series, okay? But Grace, welcome to the family. Thank you for being here, and we can't wait for Girl Coded, the TV series. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Grace, everybody.